Hello, and as the silver-haired, well, at the time his hair was dyed black, professor and former president of WCW was once meant to say, I'm back and better than ever, except for the voice allergy problems this week. But again, hello and welcome to the Forgotten OneCast. We are back after my unfortunately technologically imposed hiatus for the last couple weeks. I had some computer issues, and I live out in the middle of nowhere, so getting parts is always a fun task to try to deal with. But we are back; we are full strength for the most part, and today we're going to talk to a up and coming creator who's got some great musical stuff he's going to be putting out here. He just put out his new EP, and we're going to talk about that and kind of get his musical journey. But at first, since we've been off, we do need to pay the bills. So here's a word from our affiliate sponsor.
Nuts.
Al Pilkington. All right.
Are you team coffee or are you team green tea? Try coffeebrandcoffee.com and enjoy 10% off your order with promo code CJP. Coffee Brand Coffee, great coffee, no gimmicks.
And again, you can go to coffeebrandcoffee.com and get your coffee and tea fix, no matter which team you're on. All teams are welcome here on the Forgotten OneCast. But be that, now that we've got that out of the way, quick question for everyone.
Are you ready to rock?
I know I am. And joining me today is he's a good friend of the channel, a good friend of the Legion of Memers, actually, and part of the Flawed Squad, Mr. Medastep. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I could be better, but I'm at least functioning at I'd say 80% capacity.
Right on, man. I'm doing okay. I was busy cleaning my house today, so
Fun.
Yeah, trying to make it presentable.
What do you need that for?
I just don't want to look like a total slob. That's all.
Master Tulsa already popping in with a Team Espresso double, not sugar or milk.
Hell yeah.
Why don't you just get a caffeine drip? That'll work. The Simpsons, for all the things that they've predicted over the last 40 years almost, the one thing 30 years, I guess, the one thing they had in an episode that has never come true and has made me very sad: Flintstones chewable morphine. I really want some Flintstones chewable morphine.
Can't say I agree, but I've had friends die to that to opiates, so sorry, I ruined the joke. But yeah, I mean that would be convenient.
Well, it's just one of those things that you hear about all the things that the Simpsons predicted, and it's like that's the one thing. It's like, what? No Flintstones chewable morphine?
It certainly would be convenient. I had some when I broke my kneecap.
That stuff is strong.
Yeah, and then they put me on something stronger after because the nurse missed my dose.
Oh.
And I was in terrible pain. I was screaming. But yeah, most painful injury I've ever had.
Ugh.
Downhill mountain biking.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you were able to hop on the show, and we want to talk about obviously the music that you're putting out, but I do like to start off and just kind of get an idea of your musical journey, kind of where you started, and what got you into music, what kind of drives your passion with music, and I like to get to know the core of the artist.
Well, my journey with, I guess, my desire to want to make music started in high school, and I was listening to a lot of rap music, and I listened to punk too. I wasn't just like into rap, but like I was mainly into hip hop and rap. And I like get like artistically obsessed with things for a while, so I was like very obsessed with rap and hip hop music and just hip hop culture in general, because I was a graffiti artist too, so I I just kind of I wanted to embody all of hip hop, all 5 elements. So I learned how to beatbox. I learned how to I tried to learn how to break dance. I wasn't very good. Most I could do is windmills, but what else did I do? I mean, I didn't get turntables till I was in my mid-20s, so that's when I started mixing.
I'm assuming you got 2 of them and a microphone.
I got just like that, yeah. So
That's where it's at, apparently.
so yeah, no, I started writing raps in high school, and actually, some of it was like memorizing, just not even writing them down, but like memorizing. Those are the ones I still remember, the ones I memorized. But I mean, I have a freaking like milk carton or milk crate filled with raps that I wrote over the years. And then I'd never actually wanted, like, I never felt like I had the talent to actually rap, but I met somebody when I was like 18. His name was Corey, Imperial Link, and he was like encouraging me to rap. And it's like 2002 is when I met him, and then in 2004 I went and moved to the same city as him, and he convinced me that I was good enough to record. So that's kind of started my actual music journey, I guess. And we didn't have the means to buy beats, so we were like, we got to make our own beats. So we got like FL Studio 3 and started just making our own beats, and they were kind of crappy, but we could still rap over them. So, and that's kind of like where I started. Everything was like self-taught, and I was always kind of into other genres too. So I like started trying to make drum and bass. So that drum and bass was actually like my first. Take it back. I did a mixtape, a rap mixtape. A lot of the songs featured Corey, and that was my first project. And some of the beats were mine, and a bunch of them were other people's beats that we looped. So we basically took like Wu-Tang Clan beats and like looped them, and would add, like layer them or whatever to make them sound right. And he would do a lot of the engineering, like and I would kind of like watch him and see how he, did the vocals and everything. And even he wasn't really like the best at it, but we just kind of learned as we went. And then let me see, my cousin gave me a laptop with a newer version of FL on it, and I started getting more into production and making beats and stuff like that. So then I started I was still rapping at this point, but I started getting more into electronic music.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'd already kind of been into drum and bass, and I used to listen to like hard house sometimes, and like but like the main genre of electronic music that I listen to is drum and bass. Which, it kind of drum and bass kind of like stems from like reggae and hip hop, so like kind of made sense. And there was always MCs on the drum and bass too, so that kind of meshed well with hip hop. And I was started like experimenting and making I guess you'd call them rap beats, but like electronic rap beats at like 160 beats per minute.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin heard one of them, and he's like, "Bro, this is like almost dubstep." And I was like, "What's dubstep?"
And then I always love when you hear about a new genre, and you start, and then you just deep dive rabbit hole it. And
yeah,
that's basically like your obsession for about a month to 3 months.
Yeah, except for me, it's like years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that happened to me with Japanese jazz fusion. Like I had
heard
it before, and just was one album that popped up in my YouTube algorithm as a suggestion. So I was like, I had a race car on the front. I'm like, oh, go check this out. And then my mind was completely blown, and I've been doing nothing but listening to that for pretty much the last year.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some stuff coming out of Japan that's pretty dope. So they got some good funk too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do. Well, and of course, they're the kind of culture that they hear something that's like, we're gonna master this.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and then
when you're talking about making beats, the one thing I always like to hear was where different inspirations come from. Like you know the song Clint Eastwood about the gorillas, right?
I probably would if you played it. Is it on their first album?
I think it is this, the I'm happy but
Yeah.
feeling glad. That
Yes.
backbeat is literally a bossa nova patch on an omnichord.
Right. Yeah. I think you showed us that
Yeah.
one time on
And I'm
the
like,
show.
that is freaking hysterical, but
Yeah.
awesome at the same time. That hit song was based off of a basically an auto harp Casio.
Yeah. It's like a stock synth, right?
Yeah,
It's great. It is crazy.
because this is one of those when you push the key, it changes to a different key, and that's literally all that was. So I always like hearing about those weird finds that inspire something completely out of left field from it.
Yeah. If you go back, I found out that Manny Fresh. Do you know who Manny Fresh is?
I've heard the name.
He's with Cash Money Records. When they were Cash Money, he produced a lot. He produced back that A Up with
Mhm.
Juvenile, and he produced a bunch of beats for Lil Wayne. And I went and I was playing around with the keyboard that my grandmother bought me when I was in high school, and a lot of those sounds that are on Lil Wayne's like first album are from that keyboard. So I thought that was pretty cool, or at least it sounds like the same samples. At least
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Cassidy's are pretty ubiquitous, back in the 80s and 90s, because was pretty much the only kind of keyboard that most people could afford.
So this one's the Yamaha DJX 2000.
Mhm.
I think it came out in the year 2000, and that's why. And it has like a ribbon, so you can like pitch bend with the ribbon, or you can pitch. It has a pitch bender too, but you can actually like make scratching sounds with it. Kind of.
Oh,
It's
nice.
kind of cool. Yeah, it was my first experience trying to scratch.
I never could figure that out. I figured, I should have rhythm enough being a drummer. I should be able to figure it out, but I still haven't really.
Is that your main instrument?
Yeah, that's what I started off with, and that's what I went
Okay.
to school for. So I'm a percussionist by trade. I'm gonna put it that
I
way.
gravitate more towards percussion for sure, and that
But,
probably translates with the hip hop and drums
Yeah.
or dubstep.
Well, and I started off drums and guitar, but drums is where I focused most of my energy, and I just happened to pick up bass because we had too many drummers in the pep band in college. So I'm like, well, okay, I'll play bass. And then mandolin, I learned for one song in the 80s cover band that I'm in, because we do Copperhead Road, and it has that mandolin intro. So like, okay, I guess I'll learn mandolin now.
That's pretty awesome.
I tend to learn instruments out of necessity more than pleasure, but then I get pleasure from doing it. So
Yeah.
I figured I need to find a song that has a banjo in it, because I've been kind of wanting to learn how to play one.
Yeah, so I also learned guitar and drums. I self-taught the drums. I didn't have any training, and I can tell you right now that I can play a beat, but I am not good at keeping it perfectly on time. I don't think anybody's perfect, but I'm not. I didn't play long enough to play perfectly on time. So I learned that when I was recording myself. I wanted to record some drum loops for rap or whatever, and I figured out that I wasn't very good at keeping the beat on time.
That's very honestly the best way to learn how to do that is to play with the metronome. And as annoying as that is, it's really the best way to lock it in your head. And one thing I learned from marching band was to subdivide in your head. Not just thinking, 1, 2, 3, 4, but 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and to keep that subdivision, because when you keep that in your head, it helps keep your timing on better.
Yeah,
I'm a bigger fan of pocket drummers than I am flashy drummers. Like, I mean, I love Neil Peart and
Neil Peart's amazing.
Terry Bozzio. I mean, I love them. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather have a Jeff Porcario or a Steve Gadd, where I know if they're behind me, that tempo is going to stay, because that's what they are. They're pocket drummers.
Okay, but you gotta like school me on this stuff, because I don't know. I only know Neil Peart.
Yeah,
and I know the Lawrence Welk, obviously, because Neil Peart learned from her, or I guess played with him a couple times. I guess maybe is that am I get the right name?
Maybe Buddy Rich. Well, he didn't learn from Buddy Rich,
Buddy
because Buddy Rich had passed by that point, but he had a school.
Oh,
But
okay.
Neil Peart, after his wife and his daughter passed,
What am I thinking of?
he took like a road trip, from like Mexico to Canada on a motorcycle, and just like took like a year or so off from playing, and then went to the Buddy Rich school and completely relearned how to play drums.
That's crazy. Yeah. Okay. I had the wrong name then, I guess.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary. It's been a while since I've seen it. But yeah, school me, bro.
Buddy Rich. And yeah, but I mean, for someone of that caliber who is already considered one of the better drummers around to go and completely relearn how to play from a different style, because Buddy Rich was a traditional grip, so he would always have, instead of holding the sticks, matched like this, he'd do it the traditional way, so it was like this, and that's
Right.
hard transition if you're not used to it.
Yeah, because I watched that documentary, I tried playing like that. It was not easy, but
It helps if you've been in marching band or played snare in marching band, because most marching bands still do traditional grip.
Okay.
So that's one reason I was glad I was in marching band, even though I only played snare like a few times. I was always on either quints or bass.
Right on.
But yeah, so kind of got your musical background. Let's talk about the new EP, Souls.
Okay. What would you like to know about it?
Well, just kind of give us an idea of where you were coming from with it. Was it did you have all the songs planned? Is it kind of like a concept album idea, or is it just I had a few songs here and there I wanted to put together?
It was not really planned as a project at first. The last song I was like, I'm gonna put this on for sure, which was Souls, was the last song I produced. But I had always kind of wanted to do some like feature garage and like two-step stuff, and I was getting influenced from I was watching a lot of documentaries on like the origins of dubstep and the UK sound. I don't know if you've seen those documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was kind of enamored with the whole like UK garage, and then I had listened to one of my favorite producers. His name is Sorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and he produces Future Garage, and I think he was influenced by Burial. If you ever heard of Burial, that style was like kind of influential on me, I guess.
So this is the correct one. This is Souls, right?
Yeah.
The right one pulled up. So let's take a listen, and obviously links for Medastep's YouTube channel and his Bandcamp are in the description, so definitely check those out. Before we actually play that though, Clinton House is in the house. What's up, Clinton? How you doing, son? That man's everywhere. I see him in all sorts of streams. So
right on.
That's a good bro to have in your chat.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, let's check this out.
None of us really understand what we've lived through or feel we've had enough time. have to know who you are.
Tommy, a big heart and terrible rages.
The incomprehensible nature of life is completely elusive.
Is he a trip, right?
You get those rare moments of clarity.
Reveal yourself. Go beyond.
I'm muted.
Yeah.
Like a dumbass, an audio guy that doesn't know how to unmute. That was really good. I can hear like, a little bit of trance, a little bit of EDM in that as well. But
Yeah. It sounded a little muffled, I think, but
well, that's YouTube.
is it? Okay.
Yeah. It's never going to be good fidelity.
Yeah.
Also says, what I want to start my hazer and turn on the laser lights.
Dude, you should. No, I don't know if it's rave, like really rave music. It's more like chill out music, but and it's their songs are long, and it's because it's supposed to be kind of meditative. It's supposed to be immersive, and it's supposed to transport you to like a different kind of
Headspace.
headspace. Yeah.
I really like that. And so I always like to kind of learn, some people's writing processes are different. Like, and for me, mine is depending on what I'm writing in. So like if I'm writing, a rock song, I'll usually start with, a riff, on a guitar, and that will determine where that song goes musically. But when it comes to the synth wave, usually it's me finding a patch and going, well, I like that sound. Let's see what I can do with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of most of the time I start with drums, and that's just my background in hip hop because that's like you rap to the beat, so it's like that. But and obviously like dubstep and like garage, it's dance music, so it's dubstep isn't always dance music, but
Right.
they're heavily focused on the drums, so. But sometimes, a lot of times lately, actually, I've kind of been more like starting with a sample, and whether that's just something that I made or like maybe it's a patch, like you said, or a synth. Sometimes I'll start with a synth, but my usual like go-to way to start a track is with drums. It just depends on how I'm feeling, really.
Mm-hmm.
But or
coming in with the kind of reminded him of the Area Zero era of sci-fi anime, and that's a name I hadn't heard in a long time.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
We're talking mid '90s anime at this point, where they were getting really experimental. That's a great anime though. I have not watched it
The
in a while.
first anime I saw, I don't even remember the name of the movie, but it was on like Cartoon Network when they would play them on Sunday mornings. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, Toonami? Yeah, I learned about Cowboy Bebop and Trigun from them.
Okay, yeah, and then I watched Akira, and those are like the only things I really remember. I never really got really into anime, but I appreciate the art style because I was always actually my first creative outlet was drawing. Like I drew like cartoons and then comic book characters, and that's why and then I got into graffiti in high school, and that just took over. Graffiti, I was obsessed with graffiti for a long time.
I'm assuming you played Jet Set Radio then?
What's that?
You played the game Jet Set Radio?
I didn't.
Oh, well, it depends on how old you are because it was on Dreamcast in the early 2000s. But it was basically a tagging game. You were on on rollerblades going around town in a real heavy art style. Graffitiing was kind of your goal.
Yeah, that's cool.
It had also a really awesome, almost kind of trance EDM style soundtrack. So if you ever get a chance, look up the music for Jet Set Radio.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down somewhere. But yeah, I was gonna say sometimes with dubstep I'll start with the actual bass synth, or I'll start by making a bass synth. I have Toxic Biohazard's FM synthesizer, and you can put like up to 6 different waveforms on it. So you can layer all the waveforms, and you could adjust them all and start from scratch, or you could start with a preset. But sometimes I'll start a dubstep track just getting inspiration from the bass.
Mm-hmm. And like I was telling you backstage, if you're looking for plugins, Plugin Boutique, which you had bookmark, which is a good one, and then like I said, there's a Facebook group called Free VST Plugins that and they're really good about making sure that there's not spam versions. That something that's going to download something horrible to your computer. They're real good about policing that. Thankfully,
that's good. That's always a worry of mine when downloading VSTs. But, so
there's
far,
people in the group that actually make their own VSTs.
That's sick. Well, you can in FL too. You can actually make your own, like, I don't know if it's necessarily making a VST, but you can layer different things. You can make your own like plugins, I guess, with what's it called? I haven't experimented with it yet, but it's something I'd like to do eventually. Is try to make my own little plugins.
Mm-hmm. So you've got the EP out. It's not on Bandcamp. Kind of what's your next idea?
So actually, here, let me show you. I just got this. It's kind of covered up right now, but I just got my turntable.
Nice.
So I have a really large collection of vinyl that somebody asked me to hang on to for them and keep safe. It's like 5 crates worth.
Nice.
And it's all like it goes from like the 50s up to the 80s and 90s. So like it's got so much good, and it's a lot of soul, a lot of funk, a lot of classic rock, Credence, and just so much good stuff. All has fantastic samples. And the first record that I recorded a little bit, but it's kind of beat up. But like the Love Is Blue, the Dells.
Okay.
So this and the first song is Love Is Blue, but it's kind of like a mashup. And if you ever get a chance, listen to Ghostface Killer's song Shaky Dog, and that song is sampled in that for that beat, and it's so good. So I was like super excited when I found that. I was like, holy shit, I have this vinyl.
Well, and that's my dad had a pretty extensive record collection from the 60s and 70s, and I was listening to a band called Balling Jack, and I'm listening to this song, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that riff. And I'm listening to it, and it's like, oh, I know where that's from. They'd sampled it for Bust a Move.
Oh, yep.
Young MC. That doom doom Doom, doom, doom. That's from a band called Balling Jack.
Okay.
It was an obscure band from like the early 70s.
Those are the best. Sometimes those are the best ones to find, or or they'll have the best samples in them. Hail Paul
What's up?
Hadouken.
Oh, Hadouken! Also another good friend of the channel, and
Hell yeah.
my only mod at the moment. Of course, I don't really have a large chat, so thankfully you guys behave well for the most part, except for you, Tulsa.
We'll
He
get
didn't
more
brought
in
this.
here.
Like I'd completely forgotten about Country Death Song. I haven't heard that since the 80s.
I have never heard that.
I guess we're gonna have to learn that song. I'm getting to the point now where I almost don't want to play any other music than stuff people have created, because you know how freaking YouTube is.
Oh yeah.
Yes, you
Crazy.
ginger bastard.
It's like what I do. But no, and so I didn't even elaborate on once I discovered dubstep. Yeah, I got totally obsessed with dubstep, and I for whatever reason he put me on to like the classic initial style dubstep that came out like 2004 2005. He put me onto that stuff, which was really deep and like very reggae influenced. But then I kind of got into bro step, which is like the Americanized version of dubstep.
Yep.
So which has a lot more mid range and like abrasive synths and stuff. So I kind of got into that. I tried to produce some of it. I wasn't very good at it, in my opinion. And then I started trying to do like some like a mesh, like a mix. They came out with rhythm dubstep, and I was pretty obsessed with that for a while. And I hate the name rhythm because it's really not rhythm. It's I mean, yes, the rhythm changes constantly, but I wasn't that good at it, honestly. Like I'm actually better at like doing the deeper stuff, in my opinion. But I got really into electro house too because of that. And my friend Shara at the time, she was DJing around town, so like I got so into DJing and stuff that I started mixing like electro house and actually trying to produce a little bit too. My minimal stuff was probably better, but I started DJing and I bought like a DJ controller with with the rapping Duke, and I really enjoyed mixing too. But right now that's on the fritz, so we'll figure it out. I'm getting back into drum and bass too, so I don't know. It's hard to describe everything you go through, you know.
Oh yeah. And, I'm constantly kind of shifting from one genre to another in my mind.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to pull up one more of the tracks, most of all, because that's the one, first one I'd heard, and it was really kind of stuck in my head.
That's my narcissism coming out, and you guys will hear what I'm talking about.
If you can't put a little of yourself in your music, I mean, why not? Why do it?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. At least it's not like Carly Simon's "You're So Vain." I hate that song. You probably think the song is about you. You're literally talking about how much you hate this guy. You are shitting on this guy for the entire song. Yes, it's about him.
Yeah.
So shut your mouth. or I hate Meatloaf because of I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. 7.5 minutes long, and not once in that entire 7.5 minutes does he actually state what he won't do.
Right.
Which also negates the title. If you won't do that, you will not do anything for love. You'll do most things for love, but you will not do anything.
Right.
So grammatically, I hate him for that too. But then, of course, it came out in an interview years ago later that apparently it's butt stuff.
That makes sense.
What to do. And of course, that begs the question now: I
get it.
Is it you performing or you receiving? Is performing? Oh, take it or leave it. Receiving, that's a whole different issue.
Right. Oh God. Like I had a feeling that's what it's about, but that's really what it's about.
Yep.
Tommy was the boy she liked most of all, 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 most of all. Tommy, 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 Tommy. Tommy, Tommy, Tommy. Most of all, 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 most of all.
At this point, I'd be willing to give up everything in my life to be with her, to be with
Tommy, 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 Tommy. Most of all, 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 most of
That's it for me. It's long.
Tommy's changed.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
Like I said, the percussionist in me, I loved a good marimba.
Oh yeah.
You don't hear it very often in anything other than orchestral music.
You know what? After the fact, I realized that it reminded me of American Beauty.
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, I do. I do remember because that chick had the really big forehead.
Yeah, she did, bro.
I mean,
but
just
that
like gigantic forehead.
that melody. But yeah, I listen. Also, I should state that this is it's supposed to be bass music. So if you're not listening on like good speakers, then it's kind of
you lose fidelity with StreamYards.
that too. But yeah, just if you're gonna listen to the music, use headphones or some decent speakers. Don't go and listen on your phone because you'll miss like half the feeling of the track. You know what I mean?
I do have to take a quick pause and thank Mr. Paul Dukin breaking the monetization cherry with the $33 super sticker. And you know, for that, I got to give you one of these. Rock and roll. Still one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's a good one. I haven't seen it in a long time. It's Airheads.
Again, Paul, I thank you. He's a great friend of the channel. He's been on multiple times, and of course, we will have him back on again because you know that's going to happen.
Hell yeah,
you know that's going to happen. So thank you for that, sir. I really appreciate that. Oh, gosh darn it! Clinton House with a $10. Now we're getting that money roll, and I can actually start maybe having this thing pay for itself. That'd be nice. Let's see. For you, I think I'm going to give you this one.
Like, wow, rock and roll with real rocks.
Old-fashioned Transformers.
Nice.
I love Transformers. Love that show. Of course, it started off as it was a Japanese show originally. So there's a lot of kids that grew up in the 80s watching anime and didn't know they were watching anime.
Yeah, I watched Transformers and that was kind of anime-ish, I guess.
No, it was actually a Japanese show called Headmasters.
Yeah, and Voltron, wasn't Voltron kind of like anime?
Well, it was two different anime shows. I can't remember the name of the second one, but the first one was Beast King Go Lion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Explains the lines.
Yeah. And then there's another big one from the 80s called Robotech that was 3 different Japanese shows that they redubbed. And the only reason they did those is because they needed enough episodes to hit syndications. You have to have, at that time, you'd have 65 episodes.
Okay.
Do syndication, so that with the 3 shows together, they were at 85, so they were well over, which was nice. But again, that was an anime that I watched as a kid, not knowing it was an anime.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Of course, at that time, that term didn't exist.
Oh, it didn't?
No, it didn't. It didn't actually really come about until the 90s. Oddly enough, with the guy who created Robotech, a guy named Carl Masek, because he started a company called Streamline Pictures, and he was really the first company to bring the anime from Japan directly and dub it instead of having to Americanize it and change names. He was actually just dubbing it as is, but obviously some things had to be changed for American audiences, and so he's kind of like the you either really love him or you really hate him.
What was his name again?
Carl Masek.
Carl Masek. Okay.
But yeah, he's pretty much the godfather of anime in the United States. Love him or hate him, the anime industry in America would not exist without him.
No kidding. Yeah, I try to draw some of that stuff. I think I try to draw like Akira and stuff like that. But yeah, my first obsession was drawing. So, but then after high school, I got into music, and it kind of took over my passion.
Same. I drew a lot as a kid, and then just once bands started taking over my life in high school, I really didn't have time for anything else.
Yeah, and like I said, I used to go to we had these local shows called Rumbles, and it was all punk rock and ska, and I used to go to those and have a good time, mosh and whatnot. And so I wasn't just like a hip hop kid. I was into ska and rock. My favorite band is Sublime, so I mean, I'm not a one trick pony, so to speak.
I've got your YouTube there in the chat. Again, of course, it's in the description below as well. but also your Bandcamp link, because obviously we want to support our upcoming musicians. So if you really like what he's doing, go buy it on Bandcamp, and you'll have your own lossless copy of it to keep for your very own.
Yeah, and a little bit more about the project really is I should probably just I've been through some crazy stuff in the last 5 years. I had a lot of like misfortune and stuff, so I kind of like I went through like a mental breakdown and stuff. So I was kind of like in a deep depression. I'm trying to come out. I'm still coming out of it, but I think that the album or the EP is kind of telling that story a little bit. It's more about the feeling. You kind of if you're in tune with it, you'll kind of get the feeling of where I've been emotionally, I think.
And that's the one thing about music I think is its greatest factor is it really does have ability to heal, because it's so universal that certain songs will make people feel a certain way, and that same song make someone feel a different way, but it's always affecting you. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the name of the study, but they actually did a psychological study where they would place like someone would be in a bad place mentally, and they play their favorite song, and they could actually see the dopamine and the endorphins changing their brain chemistry and making them feel better. So if you ever are feeling in a bad place, put your favorite song on.
Yeah,
and just listen to it, and it will help you and change that chemistry to make you feel better.
40 Ounces of Freedom by Sublime. That whole album is one for me, and the other one is No Ceilings by Lil Wayne. If you've ever heard the No Ceilings mixtape, that thing I can listen. I don't care what mood I'm in. If I put on No Ceilings, I'm in a better mood by the time it's done. I'm in a good mood, really.
Oddly enough, our OK Computer by Radiohead does that for me.
All right, I listened to some Radiohead in high school.
That really is their best album, because they had some good stuff before it, and Kid A had about 3 tracks that I like. Everything after that, they just kind of went so experimental that they weren't accessible anymore.
I hear
but OK
that.
Computer is a fantastic blend of being experimental, but also still being accessible.
You should. I have a song. It's called We Don't. I think it's called We Don't Need Roads.
Mhm.
It's literally not a song. It's more like I call it sonic art, because there's no consistent melody. There's no it's just a beat with like numerous bass synths going crazy. So
I mean, sometimes you need the chaos, but I'm just saying in general, I tend to prefer my music, have some sort of structure.
Yeah, it's
Again,
pretty
I can't
crazy.
say that because I listen to prog rock, and you'll have a song that goes literally 20 minutes.
Yeah,
And it's like 15 different places in that 20-minute period. So
yeah,
it really just depends on the mood I'm in.
Do you know? Have you ever heard of Run the Jewels?
No, I haven't.
It's LP from his like full name is like El Producto, but he goes by LP. He had a hip hop label in the late or early 2000s called Def Jux, and it used to be Def Jux. It's Definitive Jux, because he had to change it because of Def Jam for copyright.
Right.
But
right.
so it's him and Killer Mike, and Killer Mike was, I don't know if you know who Outkast is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Killer Mike was part of Outkast crew Dungeon Family, and then somehow Killer Mike and LP hooked up, and they started to Run the Jewels. But LP is my favorite producer ever. So like as far as like making beats and his production and all that, he's my favorite producer. So if you guys want a better like understanding of like where I'm coming from, you can listen to that. But he said his rap music was more like is like a rap version of prog rock, so that's why I thought of that. That whole tangent, sorry.
No, not a problem. But again, we're kind of getting close to the end here, so I definitely want to thank everyone in the chat, especially Mr. Clinton House and Mr. Paul Hadouken for breaking my monetization cherry. I mean, you gotta love that.
Hell yeah.
And then for everyone who Master Tulsa and everyone who's still just watching, make sure to hit that like button, and then comment after the show, because it helps the algorithm, especially since I've been off for 2 weeks. So I need them watch hours to keep going so I don't lose monetization. And then for the channel itself, I am still working on finishing the video for Castlevania 3. I've got that. The soundtrack itself is done and mixed, but I've got to do the actual video so it'll be on YouTube and have something visual going on. And
yeah, that's the work you do with like remaking those soundtracks is amazing, dude. I really appreciate it.
well, thank you. And then here is a little teaser of the next project in that series. And for those who grew up in the 80s, we're doing Mega Man. We're doing all 6 NES Mega Mans. So that's going to be pretty much the rest of the year for me musically. But and of course, I am still working on the next electronic noise album. That one, I haven't written anything for it yet, but that'll be something I'm going to be working on as well to get that one out by the end of the year, like I did with the first 2. They came out within a year of each other. So still working on that part of it. But I'm going to have to end a little early tonight because my voice is just about shot. Although it makes it so I can do a much better Morgan Freeman. Eddie Dufresne, he was a strange, sad little man. And I could smell you. I did that once at a Quick Trip. There's a gas station here locally. And one of the workers, and I knew her from high school, so we've known each other for a long time, but she was in the back stocking something. And I had the door open, was grabbing a soda out of it. And I saw her walk by and I just go, I can smell you.
Oh my God.
And then she saw who it was. She goes, you bastard. I couldn't help myself, though. I mean, come on. You can't help yourself with that. But again, Medastep, thank you so much for coming on.
Bro, thank you.
Always welcome back anytime you want to hop on. And, looking forward to some more music from you.
Yeah, it'll be a while, but it'll happen. Eventually.
Again, everyone check out Medastep's links. Check out his YouTube, check out his Bandcamp. Again, support your local musicians. You can always check out Electronic Noise 2 on Bandcamp. I do have those 2 albums on there, and I do have the GoldenEye Sound Font album, and I believe I have the Metal Gear one on there as well. So if you guys want to, so again, support your local artists. And as I always say, just keep making music. Everyone, you have a wonderful night.